What is up, everybody, and welcome to Thursday Night Football, the pre-lock show. I'm your host, Chop, and we're just going to answer some questions tonight and see what happens here. We're joined usually on Thursday nights. We're joined by Kyle Murray. Yeah, he had a little something else to do, so we are graced with the presence 2 times in 1 week. Squirrel Patrol. How you doing, Squirrel?
Good. I'm excited for this one. The total is soaring. So it's at 30.5 now. Thanks to Kyle for letting me handle this one. Because we got like a potential shootout on our hands.
Okay, a 30.5 total, Squirrel. Have you ever seen one this low?
I can't recall seeing one this low. And I think if I did, it was probably like late December type of ice storm game. But I actually am kind of excited for this one because I think there's an edge in these games, like these extreme games. Because I think everyone is going to play this game like it's going to be a 10-7 game where like the defenses score both touchdowns. And that's not necessarily the way it's going to play out. So, I think there's a little bit of an edge in this one, and looking forward to it. And we had a little bit of spice on the injury report too. So, talk about that.
If you think this is low, all you got to do is tune in on Saturday to be one-upped because there's a college football game with a 28.5 total this weekend. And I'm hammering the under too, by the way, because that's just the way it's going to be. So,
is it the military schools?
It is the military. It's the military school. But, I don't have it in front of me, but I could go back. There's been like 3 or 4 occasions this year in college football where it wasn't the military and these totals were under 30. It's been a crazy, crazy year. I don't know what's like football totals are like all-time lows, and the NBA totals are all-time highs. 257 today was that total. And oh man, let me check that. Did they get there? No, they didn't quite get there, but boy, Indiana pulls off the upset. They advance to the finals, beating Milwaukee today. So, I mean, what they hit? 247, something like that. I don't know what the final score was on that one. It wasn't going to go over when I last looked, but it was pretty darn high scoring. It's still like 10 points under the total. That's how.
Yeah, that's actually like way under the total. I mean,
it's way under the total, and that's like 5 years ago. That's the final of an all-star game with no defense at all. So everything's changing. Everything's flipping upside down. Might be global warming. I have no idea what's causing it all. But you did mention the inactive report. It's a huge thing tonight. This might be the you said spicy. This might be the spiciest inactive report we've had all year long on a showdown, right? So I'll get in. I'm gonna name off some names here, and then after that, you can just tell me what you're doing with each side of this. But New England, Keyshawn Boutte is absent tonight. So, we'll start off with Demario Douglas. He's out. Devontae Parker was questionable. He's out. So that leads to Boutte, who would have been a really nice little player there if he had been active. He's not active. Ramondre Stevenson is out. So New England is all jacked up over there, especially in the receiving core. For Pittsburgh, we know Pickett's out, and Trubisky's in, and you got deal with whatever he's going to bring to the table. But that New England thing, I'm sure you're seeing like your eyes are popping, and I'm sure you got a lot of things going through your head of how you're going to play this out tonight, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Devontae Parker, I think, was the kind of surprise. I thought Parker would end up playing. It seemed like Demario Douglas wasn't going to play. But, that leaves the Patriots like incredibly thin in the receiving core, and opens up some really low-priced guys that you wouldn't have expected, almost like operating without a salary cap. And then Jermichael Hasty was also inactive, which I think was a little bit of a surprise. So it looks like Kevin Harris is like the backup to Ezekiel Elliott, and he's like another mid-priced guy on DraftKings. I think probably mid-priced on FanDuel as well. That is probably going to be seeing some work at least. So I don't expect Ezekiel Elliott to see everything here. So it opens up some interesting possibilities.
It's interesting. It's interesting for sure, and tonight is a night you could really hammer some props too, because with all these inactive stuff is just going to open wide up. So this is a show based on your questions, guys. So if you're in the chat, you're hanging out, whatever, fire off the questions, man. That's what we're here for. We're going to talk about. I'd say roughly 15 minutes. We'll do our Plums play of the night, and we'll figure that one out on this 30.5 total. Who knows if that's going to work out, but we'll start off with Carolina guy here in chat. We'll just go through the FanDuel scenarios here. He says FanDuel single entry, low owned MVP. Okay, so we're in a FanDuel single entry. He wants a low owned MVP as opposed to a favorite MVP, I guess. But FanDuel single entry MVP. What's your thoughts?
So I actually have a low owned MVP, and we have this question on the expert survey, right? Like, what's favorite off the board MVP and favorite off the board captain. And I ended up going with Bailey Zappi because he's like 4% owned. And that seems crazy to me. And it kind of goes along with my whole way of playing this game that I think people are going to be like overloading on the defenses. And, people want the answer here to be like the Steelers defense or something, play the Steelers defense at MVP. Maybe it ends up being that kind of game. Like I can't recall ever seeing one of the starting quarterbacks at like 4% owned in the MVP spot. Like let alone the captain spots on DraftKings. So like, yeah, I mean, play Bailey Zappi. If he's really coming in at like 4% owned, I think Zappi's the guy to play at the MVP spot.
Yeah, it is kind of bizarre the way the ownership is shaping out for the like. Yeah, I mean, even at 30.5, there's going to be some points scored. Then we're thinking somebody's going to get in the end zone. I mean, yeah, it could definitely play out the way you're talking about. Everybody is headed towards the defenses, and some skill guys get. Some skill guys are going to get there anyway. I think I was reading today something like since in the last 5 weeks, Jaylen Warren leads the NFL in rushing in the last 5 weeks. And combined with Najee Harris, they're like the best 1-2 punch over that time. Something crazy like that. They're like, there's guys in this game. Trubisky, okay. I want to ask you about the Kenny Pickett's going down. Like, he was terrible for most of last season and this season. He was terrible. Looked a tad bit better here under the new offensive coordinator. Now he's out. Do you expect the offense in general to go up or down with an experienced Trubisky back there?
It's going to move sideways. This is the Steelers had about 18 points, implied point totals. With Pickett, with the new offensive coordinator, Trubisky. They seem to be hovering around that 18 mark, no matter what happens. I think it's maybe a testament more to the way that the team plays, even with Matt Canada gone. If I had to pick up or down, I'd probably pick up. I think the Steelers were going to look a little bit better without Matt Canada going forward than whether it's Kenny Pickett or Mitchell Trubisky. So I think they'll probably look a little bit better than they have for most of the season if I have to pick a direction. But they probably don't need to go crazy in this game to beat the Patriots too. So that might be part of what limits the offense here.
Yeah, and so I guess my point being, if they do look slightly better, if it's an even better offense, or at least like you said, if it's a lateral change here and there's nothing big about it either way, you got two receivers out there, Pickens and Deontay Johnson. Do we know who his roommate is? Do we know who he showers with, or not like in that way, but do we know who his favorite guy is? Because that could be a big deal. I haven't heard that info broken down yet, but I'm taking a shot on some Pittsburgh wide receivers in the hopes that this rejuvenates them a little bit, because Kenny Pickett was just not particularly good. So. Questions, guys, fire off them questions. I'm going to get to a couple of them right now. I'll definitely keep track of every single question that you fire off in that YouTube chat. And we will get to it here before the end of the show, about 25 minutes before this thing locks up. And we'll be out of here by then with Plums Play of the Night well in hand. A couple of questions real quick. Chris Alexander, Elliott or Warren in DK cash at the captain spot?
I kind of prefer going with the quarterbacks, but I like Jaylen Warren as a running back better, but the Najee Harris factor is a little bit too much. I think you've got to go Ezekiel Elliott. Even though he's priced up and I like Jaylen Warren better, and that's the favored team, you just don't want to see Najee Harris running in like the only touchdown of the game and you lose your cash game because of that. So I think you've got to go Ezekiel Elliott.
This is going to put that old running back adage to the test. Volume trumps everything, because Elliott's not particularly good anymore. Really slow and not many moves and all. So on one side, you got Elliott, who's going to get all the volume in the world. Like, there's a lot of volume. Yeah, Kevin Harris will slide in there and do something because Elliott's probably not going to play 100% of the snaps, but he'll get a ton of volume. And on the other side, you got Warren, who's this young guy. You can see the fresh legs. You can see how sharp he is when he plays. And so this is going to put that to the test. But in that particular scenario, I think I'm leaning, man, because they're both tough defenses they're playing. I think I'm leaning Elliott. I think I'm leaning the volume here. And because it's not just volume in the run game. If it was just run game, I'd go Warren. But we're going to get some passes. Like we've talked about the receivers. The receivers being out for New England, that doesn't always mean that the other receivers are the ones gathering all the targets. This could be check down city to Elliott. So, and there's a really good prop floating around out there in the RG circles about it was 15.5 on Elliott receiving yards. I think I got it at 18.5, so it's on the trend. It's on the tick up. So, Tony Petrowski, he says Montgomery ? I guess he wants to know if it's okay to play Montgomery, or what's your thoughts on Montgomery?
So he's a guy that could end up getting some receiving work. I think you can go there. I mean, there's a bunch of guys here that that just aren't that appealing in any other game, but in this one might be a little bit appealing. Montgomery was not on my list when Devontae Parker was going to be active. Like when I thought Devontae Parker was going to be active, I think you can go there. It's just like I have him kind of clumped in among a bunch of other guys, and Montgomery's actually at like 2,600 on DraftKings is one of the more expensive guys. So he's actually not like great value, even though he's like 2,600. Like in my 150 set, I think I'll have a handful of Ty Montgomery. So I guess that means you can go there. But he's not my favorite of all of those guys. I actually kind of prefer going to the guy, Kevin Harris. It'll be like the strict backup.
All right, we got a couple questions. I'm gonna get to all your questions. I'm keeping track of them right now, but so keep them coming while I do this little quick thing to pay the bills, I guess they say. I want to do a quick read for you guys. I think it's very important tonight. It's about the Sim Labs. Don't know if you tried that out yet, but tell you what, in case you haven't tried it out, the Sim Labs for FanDuel and DraftKings NFL lineups this Thursday tonight. This showdown right here is your last chance to do it for free. It's no longer going to be in beta after tonight. It's going to hit the paywall as soon as this thing locks up. So this is your last chance to give it a shot. SimLabs generates DFS lineups through the power of simulation. It combines the data and every aspect of the slate to churn out lineups that match your preference. Plug in your categories. It'll spit it out for you. Just a few clicks away, you can have hundreds of well-built, correlated lineups. Listen, it's not like the be-all, end-all. It's not going to solve DFS. But if you're strapped for time or you're just looking for a different angle, the Sim Labs will spit out, the Sims will spit out lineups that work. They're just nice. They're correlated. They fit well. They got, good things going on. So as you can see here, we got it pulled up. Let's run a little sample. I want to see I know what it says because I've already been tinkering with it, but let's go. What are we on? We're on DraftKings right there. I can't even see that thing, man. I got, even with my glasses. But so let's run 20 lineups, and you got the large field selected. I like to use my results range around the medium mark. I want it to really spread its wings and have a lot of variety. I want it to see what it does there. So let's run and get 20 lineups out of that. Press your get lineups. Like that means it really is that simple. Two clicks, and then a third click, and you're donezo. And then it's going to pull this up. See what kind of lineups it's been. Oh, look at there, man. Oh, look at that. Go to your exposures. You can sort on this particular showdown slate. You can sort by flex or captain. As you can see, we're getting a lot of Elliott, which, it deserves. Now, there's also other modifications in there on other tabs where you can worry about the ownership and how much it plays a part. And if you don't want high on guys, or you do want higher on guys, and you're willing to sacrifice the ownership for the sake of the projection. But yeah, Elliott's going to pop in a lot of this stuff tonight because he's like supposedly the number one back with all the volume. So as you can see, it's that easy, guys. You got 20 right there, real quick. Plug it in for 100 if you want to, but tonight's the end of it. You got 19 minutes to make it happen. If you don't, it's going to be behind the paywall. I don't know if you have access to it. So How many lineups you running tonight, Squirrel?
Doing 150.
And what's your method of curating those lineups?
So I'm just kind of doing my normal process. I actually, one of the reasons I like this slate is that I have a very simple we have a question in the expert survey like what do you think your edge is going? How do you think you're going to beat the field? And my way I think I'm going to beat the field here is just simply to go underweight the defenses, like go underweight the Pittsburgh defense in particular, because I think you might see like a lot of ownership, we've seen like 40% ownership on defenses in some of these showdowns. And with the game total, I think people are just going to like flock to the Steelers defense, and it probably needs a touchdown to get there. And like if the Steelers like get that defensive touchdown, it's just not my night. Whereas I think people are going to be playing it at like kind of astronomical proportions. So yeah, pretty easy to make lineups, just skipping the Pittsburgh defense or going way underweight.
Yeah, that sounds so nice, man. If I wasn't doing the show, if I was listening to it and you had just said that, I'd be like, okay, you know what? I want to scrap what I'm doing right now because that's simple but super effective, man, and it makes a lot of sense. And that's what I would be doing right now because that's it. That's the ticket right there. That's why you're gonna win and I'm gonna lose because I'm sitting here holding my junk with a bunch of lineups that I don't even like now because I like what you just said. So, but that's kind of nuggets you pull on the show like this and make it happen. Yes, Butthole Jenkins, I know what you need, and we're going to get it to you. Man, we're about 5 minutes away from that, maybe. Get some more questions here for me, guys. Boss Bro wants to go back to FanDuel here. Let's go. We kind of did the single entry GPP captain. What about a FanDuel large field GP? Like totally, like you're playing $5 and you're going to try to win 50K out of it. Like what's the method there on FanDuel?
I got a guy, and I think it's a guy I want to bring up because I think that it goes against like what I always kind of say on the show. Every time we do one of these shows, people ask about the backup quarterbacks, and I always say like, yeah, it's not worth playing. It's not worth playing. You might want to give like some consideration to Malik Cunningham with the Patriots. They said going into last week they were going to have like a package of plays for him, and Bailey Zappi probably hasn't been the answer. Like the Patriots change their quarterbacks at halftime, like all the time. It seems like it's either like Mac Jones starting, then Bailey Zappi finishes or whatever. Like if they've got a package of plays from Malik Cunningham, they didn't pull him out last week. This might be the week. And he also plays some wide receiver, and they are so thin at the wide receiver spot. Like I don't think people are going to be thinking about the possibility of Malik Cunningham getting snaps at wide receiver. So it's a possibility that you see like a Bailey Zappi to Malik Cunningham touchdown pass or vice versa. So I don't know. Yeah, like if you really are doing like one entry in the super large field and you want to try to win it solo, I think you could do worse than like playing Malik Cunningham, maybe even in the MVP spot.
Yeah, once again, if I was watching the show and not actually on it, I would definitely be running to get some Malik Cunningham because again, it makes a ton of sense. Didn't quite register to me when I was rushing pre-show and I saw, the inactives, and then I saw the thing about Malik Cunningham, but you're right, it's making sense. He was back and forth with Zappi and Mac Jones. Like, who do I start? They both suck. And like, if Zappi struggles a little and you got you some Malik Cunningham, you may very well see Malik Cunningham. If you don't know him, he's a runner, man. He can run. He's fluid. He glides. He's like an even skinnier version of Lamar Jackson, same school too. So it's very intriguing right there. All right, got a few questions here for you. Derek Ringering with the $1 million question today. Rank the New England wide receivers, or maybe just let's rank the New England pass catchers in general.
So I think the top guy is Hunter Henry actually. It's an important distinction to do like the pass catchers. I think after that it's like Juju Smith-Schuster, a little bit of a revenge game like from before he was with Kansas City. Then probably Tyquan Thornton, then Jalen Reagor, then probably the tight ends like Gesicki and then Terrell Brown in order. What a group. But I mean it's all kind of clumped together. But I think I think Hunter Henry does like kind of stand out above the other guys. And then Juju like not too far behind him. And then it's all kind of clumped together. Probably like Tyquan right after that.
Yeah, I think pretty much on the same page right there. Yeah, man, I don't. I'm looking at my lineups right now. I don't think I have any Malik Cunningham. I'm not. I'm not too happy right now. Boss Bro says Malik or Cunningham has been altering snaps with Zappy and warmups. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm starting to feel
That,
it. Might be feeling it in my plums.
yeah.
Goodness
Is that
gracious.
different though from like a regular game? Like wouldn't the backup probably?
I don't think so, man. Honestly, I don't know how New England does it. I'm pretty sure we're in for something here. All right, I'm gonna do a quick little
Yeah. Thumbs up.
thing.
Like
All right. Anyway,
uh,
get some likes, guys. Get some likes. We need likes. Like Rukan says, 140 people watching, only 19 likes. Let's get some likes, and we'll answer a couple questions for you here. Let's go with Alan S. QQ. Fade Najee Harris in DraftKings GPPs.
yeah, absolutely. You can fade anyone. And I like the idea of being a little bit overweight the passing games. Like New England actually allows the 10th most receptions per game in the NFL this season. So like these defenses aren't like lock them down defenses that like the total would imply. So I don't mind the idea of going overweight the receivers and fading the running backs. I think so many people are going to just flock to the defenses and running backs. The running backs, I think, are going to get their share. The defense is so random. Like, I don't think the defenses are that more likely to end up on the winning lineup. This showdown slate than a higher scoring showdown slate. But they're going to be a lot higher owned. So I like the idea of like fading the defenses first, but I don't mind the idea of going underweight. And if you want to take a bold stance, like go ahead and fade a running back.
Yeah. Rukan is always has some good questions here. Do we like a Juju Smith Schuster revenge game? He's in a large field on DraftKings with one lineup. It's a 3-3 build with no quarterbacks and 1,200 left. That's not silly. That sounds fine. But to the core of your question is, do we like a Juju revenge game? I'll answer first, and I will say that I didn't even think it needed to be a revenge game. I mean, they're just so shorthanded. He might just be the number one wide receiver for New England. But what's your thoughts on Juju tonight?
Yeah, no, I mean, I like him like just right up there with Hunter Henry as the best of the receivers for the Patriots. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, they're so short-handed. I mean, his yardage prop I think went up like 10 or so yards with the news that Devontae Parker was out. His projection was rising. Like, I mean, they have to run somebody out there at wide receiver. And I will say, like, coming into the season, like I thought Juju was going to do a lot better. Like I thought he'd be like a legitimate number one receiver for the Patriots. And it hasn't panned out that way. Like maybe it's just been a bad few months for him. So I like him. I like going over with the passing games. I like Juju in particular as one of the better Patriots receivers.
We got why not a kicker in the captain spot? I don't like anybody tonight. I'm not a guy who would recommend a kicker in the captain, even on a slate like this. There's just upside tends to not be there. But what do you think?
Um, yeah, if I was going to do it, it would be a slate like this. So yeah, I think it's okay. Because I mean, what if it does end up being like a 9-6 game? So yeah, that's conceivable. I like the kickers better than the defenses because I think people are going to see the total and think that means I've got to play one of the defenses. But actually, it might just mean the kickers are more important relative to a normal game. So I don't mind. I'd rather play one of the kickers in the captain spot tonight than one of the defenses.
All right, Squirrel. We got about 10 minutes left. I think it's time to get the people what they want. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you and fill it in your plums. Play of the night. Who's your guy?
I'm gonna go Deontay Johnson. That stat I referenced earlier, where the Patriots are allowing like the 10th most receptions per game. Each one of those receptions, even if it gets like stuffed, right? It's a wide receiver screen or something. It's like a 10-yard run. And I think the teams are going to pass the ball. I don't think like Mitchell Trubisky is like some huge downgrade. I think Trubisky might look better than Kenny Pickett has for most of the season because like they've got Matt Canada gone. So I don't mind Deontay Johnson. He's a guy that always pops up for me on main slates, and it's really annoying because he shows up as a good value guy. He just gets a bunch of receptions, never scores a touchdown. Like those receptions are going to be important in this game. With if there's not as many touchdowns, and if he does get the touchdown, that elevates him into like a likely winning captain. So yeah, feeling Deontay Johnson in my plums tonight.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. There's a lot of guys who made the short list here for me. I like several guys here for a defensive struggle. It doesn't matter. Actually, you're just trying to find the guys in the game, and if it's a bad game, everybody's going to struggle. But there was a lot of candidates here, and then you guys threw a monkey wrench at me with Malik Cunningham. Now I'm really feeling that one in my plums, and I'm going to do something about it, before the thing locks. But for the sake of the show, I don't want to get too off track here and go too overboard with that. I'm going Hunter Henry. Somebody's got to catch some passes for New England. Somebody's got to do something. Pittsburgh's a tough defense. They're at home, but New England's tough too on the other side. So I don't know how much I love Pittsburgh. I'm going to go for New England. They're just so shorthanded in the receiving core. Who's going to get there? We've got Zappy. I'm sure he's got some familiarity with Hunter Henry. So I'm going to go Hunter Henry in this thing as my feeling it in the plums, play of the night. Fire off some more questions, guys. We're going to get out of here in a few minutes. The one says Thornton or Henry.
I'd go Hunter Henry. I actually think he'll be a little bit underowned because I think if people are trying to adjust to the Devontae Parker news, they might adjust just to another wide receiver. So I like the idea of going Hunter Henry.
Yeah, I like that one. All right, fire off them questions, guys. I'm gonna do some rapid fire for you, some pick'ems and props and stuff like that, and see what you say. Maybe somebody can throw together them a little parlay before this thing starts up. All right, you ready for it? I'm gonna give it to you. You ready? Here we go. Jaylen Warren and Ezekiel Elliott rushing yards. Warren is actually plus 9.5.
Oh wait, what's going on?
Are you okay? You're editing your lineups? That's fair enough. I'm just giving you some rapid fire questions here.
Oh, okay.
That's fine. But if you need a minute to adjust your Malik Cunningham exposure.
Yeah. All right, sorry. What was the
Warren versus Elliott? It's rushing yards, and
+9?
Warren is plus 9.5.
I'd probably go I'd go Warren 9.5.
I'd go Warren plus 9.5 also because I don't think Elliott has a huge rushing night, even with the volume. But here's where it gets interesting. Rushing plus receiving yards, Elliott, Warren's plus 5.5. Rushing plus receiving. Does that change it for you?
I'd be more likely to go with Elliott.
I would too. I agree. I'm switching it up because we're throwing in the receiving. Passing yards, Trubisky, Zappy. Okay, this is a good. Zappy, Trubisky passing yards, but Zappy is plus 25.5. Like, I don't even know if Trubisky's going to throw for 25.5 yards. You might already be winning that one before this thing even kicks off.
I'd probably go with Trubisky because I'm worried about Zappy not finishing the game. Like whoever's.
Oh yeah, you're right. We got the Malik Cunningham thing now. Yeah. Very, very true. Very true.
And it doesn't
Man, I think you're on to. I think you're onto something there. You get those props with Zappy in it. You might, unders. Like people don't want to realize this because playing overs is fun, but unders is probably the better way to go on most props, just because there's always the chance the guy doesn't finish a game or something of that nature, and you have a little built-in, a little bit more built-in equity with the unders. So Zappy losing snaps could be a big thing right there. All right, let's see. Receiving yards. Man, Deontay Johnson, your boy, versus Allen Robinson, but Allen Robinson's plus 29.5. And I don't know if you remember this, but Trubisky and Robinson had some big-time years in Chicago together. A little narrative street, a little shower street narrative.
Yeah, I've got the shower narrative. All right. I still got to go Deontay Johnson, but the shower narrative is making me a little nervous.
Yeah, what if we go Freiermuth versus Pickens receiving yards? Freiermuth plus 12.5, coming off of probably maybe definitely his best game of the year here recently with the coordinator change and everything. Does that move the needle for you to beat out George Pickens in receiving yards?
No, I think the Freiermuth game was like a Bengals defense that just never guards the tight end. So I think I'm going to go still with George Pickens there.
All right, guys. Anthony wants to know, let's recap our favorite captains for each side. Give me your favorite captain on DraftKings and FanDuel, just in a quick recap for him.
So like on FanDuel, I would actually go with Mitchell Trubisky. I like the idea of being overweight the passing games, and it seems strange to be like I'm, doing some like off the board playing like the home favorite quarterback. I'd go with Trubisky as like my favorite captain. On DraftKings, like I'm probably gonna have the most Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know if he's like my favorite. I might end up being a little bit under the field. Like the guy I would want to be over the field on. So I think Deontay Johnson.
I would go with the Trubisky also on FanDuel and on DraftKings. I'm kind of in a tough spot here. I would normally say Hunter Henry here. I want to play that. Think that's captain, and the salary matters and all that good stuff. But it kind of doesn't matter tonight. There's so many paths you can go. I don't know if you need to say, but I do like Hunter Henry to be the leading receiver for New England, and I think that matters. So Malik or Zeke in DraftKings GPPs. Brian Marshall wants to know, he's on the Malik train now. Should he jam him in more than Zeke, or are we just like going overboard here?
Yeah, I think that might be a little bit overboard. I mean, it kind of depends on the context. Like if you're doing one lineup and you just want to have like something fun to root for, I think you can do it like a Malik Cunningham lineup. I don't know how much fun it'll be necessarily to root for him. Like just get off the sidelines. Like if you're doing like more than one lineup, like you should have more Ezekiel Elliott than Malik Cunningham.
All right, we got Henry or Boswell. Which one you got?
I'd go Hunter Henry. Like I think the kickers, will be kind of overowned along with the defenses, less so than the defenses, but like play the position players.
Yeah, guys, we got about 2 minutes left. We're going to go and get out of here and do some quick edits. We appreciate you tuning in. The show flew by this week. Love all the questions. Come back on Monday. Come back on Sunday for the show. I'll be back on Monday. Join us again for the experience. Should be fun. For Squirrel Patrol, I was your host, Chop. Good luck in all those GPP guys. But for now, we are out of here.